So this time around, I want to take our various form inputs and turn them into dumb, reusable components. But before I do that, I had a slight typo, and I'm sure you noticed it last time around. Here in editmovie.js, on the input for the text area description, the value shouldn't be movie.value, it should be movie.description. Okay, now let's change this form so that, for example, this text input becomes a dumb reusable component. And I'm going to do that by going to my components folder, and I'll create a new folder in that, which I will call form-components. And inside of that, I will create a new file, which I'll just call input.js. And this is not going to be a React component. This will be a very stupid, dumb, reusable component called const input, and that's going to be equal to, and it will accept props, and I'll use the arrow syntax, and I'll just return some JSX. And inside of that, I'm going to return, effectively, exactly what a text input looks like. So I can just go over to Edit Movie and choose a text input, like this one, and copy it, and go back to my input.js and paste it in there, and just change it as necessary. So I'll format it. The HTML4 will not be title, that'll be equal to a property that I pass it. So I'll pass it props.name. And the class name I'll leave alone. The title, I'll just pass it props.title. And the type, I'll make that props.type. So I could, for example, make this a text input or a date input. I'll leave the class name alone. The ID, I'll make that exactly the same as the name. Props.name. And the name will also be props.name. Props.name. The value, I'll make it props.value. And the onChange, I'm not always going to be using the same name, so I'll actually pass it props.handleChange. And then if you want to, for example, in some cases, you might want a placeholder. So I'll put a placeholder in there, which I won't use this time around, but it's something I might use later on. Props.placeholder. Okay. And then, of course, I have to export the default. So I will export default, and I'll call it input. Of course, because this is called input, that's what I'm exporting by default. So I now have input. So if I go back to OneMovie, to Edit Movie, that is, what I can do is just comment this one out. And at the top, I'll import, and I'll call it input, from form-components/input. Now I can use that like this. So right here, I will simply say input and hand it its various arguments, its properties. So I'm going to give it a title, which will be equal to, in this case, title, because it's the title of the movie. I'll give it the type. I want this to be an input type equals text, so I have to do it like this, actually. And title should also have curly brackets around it. And the name will be equal to title, all lowercase. And the value will be equal to movie.title. And handle change will be equal to this.handleChange. And if I got everything right, if I imported this properly, when I go back to my form and reload this, it should still work. I should be able to click in here and type the new movie, and it works beautifully. And that's much cleaner. It also means I can copy this and replace all of the other basic ones. So this time I'll paste that in, comment this one out, and change this title to release date. And the type in this case will be date. And the name will be release date. And the value will be release date. And handle change stays the same. Okay. Now I should be able to come down here for runtime and do the same thing. So I'll paste this in, copy this out, and just so you know, we're going to have to make a change to the way that the date is displayed here because JavaScript dates and JSON dates don't play nicely together, but it's an easy change, and we'll take care of that in a moment. So this one will be runtime. Type is text, name is runtime, value is movie.runtime, and handle change is the same. Now we'll take care of this one later because it's a select and we have to create a new component for that. But we can definitely do rating. So we'll come down here, paste this in, and comment this one out, and change this to rating. And the type is text, and the name is rating, and the value is rating. And the last one, of course, is another one we're going to have to build called text input or text area. So let's just see if the ones that we've changed right now actually work. Let me go back here and reload this and try the title, ABC. That worked. Let's try the runtime, 100. That worked. Let's try the rating, 4. That worked. Now MPAA rating and description will have to be modified to be their own dumb components. And here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to do, don't worry about the select, we'll do that one together. But you should be able to take the description, the text area, and create a reusable dumb component and substitute that dumb component for this code right here. This should be replaced with another dumb component, perhaps called text area, just like the input one. And you have enough information at your disposal to do that right now. So give that a whirl, and I'll show you how I did it in the next lecture, and we'll get started doing the one for the text area as well.